It's the circle of fucking trash is what I thought about this movie. I'm really tired of people taking classic movies and then remaking them, and they're just such a garbage version of what they originally were. That's exactly what happened with this one. It's an exact fucking replica of the original movie. Adds a few things here and there, but for the most part, it's the same fucking movie. Falls so short of what it was. It just made it absolute garbage bullshit. Alright, let me try this again. I did not like the live action remake for The Lion King. The big issue, like the biggest problem I found with it, is that it lacked any of the emotions that you would get from the original movie. And I mean that with everything, with the dialogue, with the music, even like the facial expressions of the lions themselves, because they're supposed to be lions, right? But lions aren't humans. They don't express emotions the way we do. So this movie feels very mundane. Like, it doesn't pique my interest at all. If I had never watched the original movie, I would still hate this movie. So it's not a matter of I'm comparing it to the original, and that's why I don't like it. This movie is just bad. Like, if you take all the songs sang in this movie, because they're the same, except for the Be Prepared. That one is not the same at all. It was kind of cut short, and it wasn't much of a song to begin with, because Jeremy Irons, he sang Be Prepared great for Scar in the original. At least I think it was Jeremy Irons that sang the song. But in this one, it's Chiwetel Ejiofor. I have no idea if I'm saying his name right, but he's the voice actor who plays Scar. Great actor, I love him, but he just did not have the singing chops for this movie, and it didn't really feel like a song. It felt more like he was giving a speech with some rhyming and a little bit of rhythm, but other than that, it just felt like a speech. But the other songs, like, they were, for the most part, they were the same, but you didn't get that same emotional impact as the original ones did, and a lot of that has to do because the lines show no emotion. For example, the song Can You Feel the Love Tonight, when Simba and Nala reunite after being apart for so many years, that's the moment essentially where Nala and Simba fall in love with each other. You know that because you've watched the original, and you kind of get that because of what's being said in the song, even though Beyonce, for lack of better words, like, Beyonce the entire song with her voice, and she has a great voice, so I don't know why she did what she did. But you know that they're supposed to be falling in love with each other, but you don't get that because they don't show emotion. They don't show the same emotion they did in the first one, so it kind of feels very empty. It's lackluster. Those songs didn't have the same impact that the original ones did, and the dialogue, even though it's almost exactly the same, did not have the same impact because it just did not have those emotions. If you're gonna humanize these characters and make us relate to them, you want to make them relatable, but you can't even do that. Like, these characters are uninteresting. They're not as interesting as the originals. They're not interesting at all, so it's not a matter of comparing. It's just they're not interesting. And some scenes that are almost, for the most part, the same, you just don't get any feeling from it. The first one that happened was, and this is the first one I noticed, was when Scar and Mufasa talk at the beginning of the movie, and Scar is essentially insulting Simba, but Mufasa's like, yo, that's my son, don't talk about my son that way. But in this one, even though Scar sounds very scary, Mufasa just sort of says, is that a challenge? But he doesn't say it with such ferocity and such aggression the way he did in the first one. Because in the first one, Mufasa looked like he was about to F him up, but in this one, I guess it kind of looked the same way because he still confronted him, but he didn't really say much. He's just more like, is that a challenge? So the same message, but it doesn't have the same emotional impact that it did in the original. And there were several scenes like that. The same with Rafiki finding out that Simba's alive. Yeah, he did look like full of joy that Simba was alive, but the same music wasn't in the background. Like, it didn't feel like, I don't remember it being there. But the music that was playing in the original and the way Rafiki was, like, he was just so hyped up, like, all right, we finally have some hope now. But it didn't feel that way in this one. And there was just so many scenes like that where it just took the emotion completely out of it, even though everything about it is basically the same. There was actually one scene they did right, but they messed that one up too. And it's the scene where the hyenas attack Simba and Nala when he goes to the shadowy place and he's told not to go there, and the hyenas attack him, because in the original one there's only 3 hyenas, but then later in the movie you see like 20, 30, 40, 50 hyenas, however many there were in the original one. But in this one you see a lot of hyenas coming out and they're attacked. So when you see them surrounded, and I I watched it on Disney Plus at 2812. Sorry, I would have had a clip, but I didn't want to deal with the copyright infringement and whatnot. But at 2812, starting at 2812 to 2817, you see, and I could be wrong, I counted at least 24 hyenas there. So that was great because it shows that there's a lot more hyenas than just the main three, which makes sense because where were the rest of the hyenas? But then after that, Mufasa comes in and saves the day, which wouldn't bother me if it wasn't for the fact that there were 24 plus hyenas, possibly more, because again, there's a lot more later in the movie, in the original and in this one, where the lions are overwhelmed by them. They're just completely surrounded. But Mufasa comes and saves the day, and they say that he's too powerful. A grown lion, a grown male lion, is not too powerful for 24 plus hyenas. If there's 20 hyenas, and there's a video I watched by, I think it was on the BBC channel on YouTube, where one lion was attacked by 20 hyenas, and he couldn't kill them all. There was too many of them. He would tire out before he could kill the hyenas, so he would die. And this one, Mufasa they just completely back off, and that doesn't make any sense because they felt so confident right afterwards that they could kill Scar. And don't get me wrong, Scar is no Mufasa, but he's still a male lion, and they felt confident that they could kill Scar even when he wasn't completely surrounded by as many hyenas. At least I don't think so. I didn't count when he was singing his "Be Prepared," whatever that was. But when Mufasa was there was at least 24 hyenas. And I get it, it's a movie, it's not going to be realistic, but it's still 24 hungry hyenas who have barely eaten. There is no way you can tell me that 24 hyenas will not even attempt to attack Mufasa. But yet they're confident enough to attack Scar, and they're confident enough that they can take on the entire pride of lions, which includes Simba, another fully grown male lion, and Pumbaa and Rafiki. I mean, they don't matter, but yeah, the pride of lions. So that just didn't make any sense to me. So it was seen done good, but then they just turned it around and messed it up. But it wasn't like there was like nothing good about this movie. There were some things that I liked, possibly more than the original. Like for one, Scar. He felt a lot scarier in this one than he felt in the original. Don't get me wrong, the original Scar was great because he could be funny, he could be comedic relief, but still look very scary. Like if you remember the scene where Mufasa was trying to save Simba and you see him sort of stalking them, hoping that everything goes wrong and just waiting for the opportunity to kill Mufasa. That was actually better in that movie than it was in this one. In this one, he was just over the cliff, just sort of watching down. So it didn't really feel the same. But anyway, he felt scarier when he talked. He felt more menacing. And there was a scene where, I mean, the scene was in the original one too, but in the original, Simba goes to talk to Scar after his dad has showed him the Pride Lands and everything. And Scar is just trying to act like the perfect uncle, like the loving uncle. And this one, he's just like, I got no time for you. But then Simba, funny enough, turns his back on Scar. And if you remember, Scar told Mufasa not to turn his back on him, and here is Simba turning his back on Scar, and he's just saying, one day I'm going to be king, one day you'll have to do whatever I tell you. And I kid you not, Scar was looking at Simba like he was prey. He was just looking at him like, I gotta kill this cub today. And that's essentially what he tried to do right afterwards by sending them to the hyenas. So that scene was done better for me. It felt darker, and there was a few moments that felt darker, and I appreciated it because it's that different spin that I'm looking for. I don't want to see the same movie. I want it to feel like somewhat of a different movie, like Planet of the Apes and Planet of the Apes. The original one was great. The remake sucked, the one with Mark Wahlberg, because they were essentially kind of the same movie, same storyline for the most part, but it was just poorly executed in the remake. But yeah, this one is more like a replica with a few added scenes here and there, but for the most part the same. But anyway, back to the things I like. Timon and Pumbaa, where they lived with so many animals, and I don't think I saw those animals in the original ones. But you get to see them in this one for sure, and you get to see Simba trying insects for the first time, and there's a bunch of animals there also eating. It's not just him, Pumbaa, and Timon, so that was pretty cool. And this one, Scar is eating, and he essentially wants Sarabi to join him as his queen. He mentions that she chose Mufasa over him. So I guess he had feelings for her at one point. Like they made it seem like he had feelings for her at one point, but Mufasa ended up getting the girl, and he's still salty about that. So he wants Sarabi to join him as his queen, but she refuses. So what does he do? He says, all right, you lionesses can eat last. The hyenas will go first, and they don't really leave much. And it kind of felt Shakespearean at like a little bit, like he killed Mufasa not only to be king, but to also get his queen. So that was pretty cool. It was also darker, which again gives it that new movie feel because it wasn't as light as the first one. And another part, which is, I mean, it's very small, but Pumbaa's cluelessness when Simba tells him that we need live bait in order to get past the hyenas, and he's just completely clueless, even though they're looking at everyone's looking at him, Zazu, Nala, Simba, and he has no idea that they're referring to him, and he's just like, yeah, that's a good idea, we should get live bait. But I mean, I still like the original one. In fact, I still like the original one better because it had that song, and the song was so funny and it's catchy. But yeah, that's something very small. The fight between Simba and Scar, I liked it more because it felt more real in that Scar had no chance against Simba. That's why he was scared of him in the first place. That's why he needed to throw the, what was it, ember? Little sparks of fire into his face. So he did that in order to have an edge because he couldn't beat Simba. But in the first one, he did that and then he kind of got the upper hand on Simba. Even though Simba looked fine, he didn't look hurt, and somehow Scar was winning. But I mean, I understand that you want to stack up the odds against the hero so that he's more triumphant in the end. But still, I like that Simba fought Scar and it looked like Scar had no chance because he didn't. And of course, yeah, this moment was ruined right after that when Simba finally becomes king, and it's very empty when Simba finally goes and roars on top of Pride Rock. It just doesn't have the same feel to it. But yeah, all in all, I thought the movie was horrible. I do not recommend it. I mean, feel free to watch it and form your own opinion, and don't just listen to me and take my word for it. But my personal opinion, this movie is trash, and it makes me not want to watch the Mulan or Aladdin. Aladdin was also made. Yeah, it makes me not want to watch either of those movies because this is so bad. And I actually heard bad things about Mulan. But yeah, I might not even watch it. I might if someone requests it, but most likely I won't watch it. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.